welcome to another episode of Tea with Mother and Me. This is episode number 4. I am Ellie and this is my mother,
Morag.
So you might notice we're doing something different with the video today. I'm trying my webcam instead of my camera, or my cell phone rather. So hopefully the quality will be a bit better, although I'm not sure how the sound is going to work. Today is actually the 13th of September, so we've been a little while since we filmed our last episode, but yeah, hopefully we get back in the swing of things.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
Yes. So I have quite a few finished objects. So I'll do a couple and then you can. You've only got one.
I've got one.
Okay,
Finished,
we'll do yours in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start with these. I have some socks that I finished for myself. Let's see if we can get that nice and close. So these are knit out of the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn, and the main color is actually a special one to me. This one is Hidden Gem, and not only is it purple, which is my favorite color, but it is also a collaboration between West Yorkshire Spinners, which is one of my favorite sock yarns in the UK, and it's a collaboration with Christine Perry of Winwick Mum knits, which she does the pattern that I learned to knit socks with, so this is a special pair for me. And then I used Pennyroyal as with the contrast for the heel, cuff and toe. So I actually started these, I think at the end of my trip coming back from South Africa in like February. I only finished these, or maybe it was in May, I'm not sure, but they've been on the needles for quite a long time. But I finally finished these in August when we went to South Africa for my father-in-law's 70th. And these are just 64 stitches on a 2.5mm needle, and I knit magic loop style, and they have a heel flap and gusset. I think that's all I have to say about these.
Yeah.
Then, the next thing I was going to talk about is actually, I'm just going to have to insert a picture because I don't have the finished object anymore. Is I finally finished the jumper that I was knitting for my sister-in-law. So I knit it with Drops Merino Extra Fine, and it's like this green color, and she designed the jumper. So I have like a pattern book by Anne Budd, which has basically a whole lot of almost like formulas where you can put together your own jumper for different construction types. And so I was using that for the math, and then I let my sister-in-law choose like the stitch patterns and stuff that she wanted. So I will obviously insert a picture, but it's basically got like a lovely cable down the front, and then she wanted ribbed on the sides as well, and then she wanted extra long sleeves, and then it has like a small braid cable up the side, and then like moss stitch on the sides.
It's actually really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, so that one turned out well. So do you want to tell us about your finished object?
I have this, I call it a scarf, but I suppose it's a shawl shape. So I knitted it from scraps. I went to Border Scraps again. It's my favorite shop. And I picked up this main color that I was attracted to it because it's the color that my mother used to wear. And I didn't know what I was going to knit with it. But then, I don't know, one day I just decided I like wearing them like this now. I'm a convert.
Yes.
Oops, I'm turning it the wrong way. But you can also wear it like a shawl, the normal style. So, and then I wanted to introduce some colors, but I only had this cotton that I actually got in South Africa. And it's quite a bit thinner than the main part, which is all, these are trebles, and I counted them up, and most of them, the thin, I've decided to add more stitches, so I've got 5 on each of these rows. I do 5 stitches, just to kind of make them sort of the same size. They're actually a little bit bigger, but I think it's quite nice because it sort of gives it a bit more oomph.
Yeah.
And then I finished that row, and then I thought, why don't I go all the way around? So I haven't done that before, but I quite like that idea of just adding that little bit. So
especially, I don't know if you that's a really nice thing you can do this when you haven't done it, but if you're alternating almost like stripes, then you can have like a color change on the edge. Then if you just do like single crochets over it, then you can cover that color change.
It was also because it was kind of long enough, but I mean, it doesn't look like if you add that much on both sides that will make it, but it did for me. It just made it just be a little bit better length. Yeah, so that's my finished object, and I'm quite inspired to do more of these.
Yeah, it's lovely, and it's a nice size.
Yes, it is.
Like you said, it works well for like a wrap around. I like to wrap triangular shawls like that. I like to wrap it around my neck for like autumn and spring, and then you can kind of tuck it into your coat, and it's like all puffy around your neck and keeps you warm. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, so that's, I only did one. I think I might already have spoken about the other, my top.
Yes.
And I'm busy with another one, but that will do later
on. So then my third thing I wanted to show are these socks that I knit for my sister-in-law. And I actually entered these into our wait, let me just see if I can cover. We've got to cover both of our faces, otherwise the camera tries to get our faces. I actually entered these into my local village was having like a show where you could enter in different handmade goods and that sort of thing. So I entered these in. So I'm very happy with them. These are for my sister-in-law. When we last went to South Africa together, she actually came with me to Natural Yarns, which is one of my favorite yarn stores in Cape Town. They stock a lot of hand-dyed yarns, which to me is very special. And so these are actually, as you can see, I've used two different colors for the contrast, like heel, cuff, and toes. But I've also used, they're both by Lily Rose, and it's in her Winwick sock base. I actually cannot remember the colors. I will find them. I did not throw it away, but I unfortunately actually misplaced the tags that come with it for the names. So I should, if I was well behaved knitter, then I would actually keep them in the project bag with the socks. But what happened is I was knitting these on the plane and that sort of thing, and so things kept moving bags and they weren't all in the same place. So I finished these ones and I've got another pair, but I'll talk about those in the work in progress. But these, I've just done a 2x2 rib for the cuff, and I've done a 3x1 rib for the leg. There. Because my sister-in-law is actually in between two sizes. So she's kind of like a 5.5. So she's not quite a 5 and she's not quite a 6. And the way that I knit socks, the 5s I use 60 stitches and the 6s I use 64 stitches. So it's kind of in between. So what I've done is I've done 64 stitches and then I've knit it ribbed, which means that it'll have a little bit more elasticity and kind of fit a bit better. And I've done this before and she said that they fit really well. So although knitting ribbed socks takes me a little bit longer, I think in certain cases, and in this case, it's definitely worth it because it just helps that little bit with the fit. Okay, and then I actually this was supposed to be a work in progress, but it's actually now a finished object. I'm busy wearing it. So this is, I don't know if I stand up a little bit. No, I can't really like get it fully in shot, but basically this was some amazing yarn that I got a couple of years ago when I was test knitting for someone else, and I made a test knit top for them, and the pattern worked amazingly. It came out really nice. It was beautiful. However, I hadn't realized it had quite a high sort of neck, and I hadn't realized how uncomfortable I would find that, and I just ended up never wearing the top. And I thought it was just such a shame because the yarn is just absolutely gorgeous. So the yarn, I can't remember the colorways, but it is by Undercover Otter. Yes, Undercover Otter. Yes. So I'll try and remember to link to their shop below. But basically, yeah, I love the yarn. It's really, really lovely. But I wasn't wearing the garment, and I just thought it was just such a shame. And also, it's like just I love the colors as well. So I ended up unskeining or pulling it out, and then I skeined it up, and I actually washed the skeins before letting them dry before I balled it up to work with. Because if you've ever pulled out knitting, you'll know it comes out almost looking like ramen or like those instant noodles that you cook. um, and so that's not, I find that that messes with my tension then when I knit. And then when you wash the garment, it can kind of like relax, and then it doesn't quite look the way that you knitted it. So I washed the yarn before I balled it up to knit it, just so that it would kind of relax a bit. Yeah. And then I knitted. Yeah.
You designed the pattern.
Yes. So I'm not sure if this will land up being a published pattern or if it's just a pattern for myself, because I didn't really use any maths to make it. Well, other than my gauge swatch. So I knit a gauge swatch to see how many stitches per inch I had, so I knew how many stitches to cast on. But then I literally just took a little, like, I don't know what you would call this, like a tank top, or like, I don't know what the official name for this style of top is. But I just took one that I already had that was just a commercial sort of like jersey knit cotton top t-shirt type thing, and then I just measured that, and then that's how I knew how many stitches I wanted to cast on. And then I just knit it for as long as I measured the top, and I was like, okay, this is where the underarm like decreases are or whatever. What's wrong?
I was thinking that's how I knit.
um so I decreased, I did the cast off there, and then I just like measured as I did my decreases, I just measured on the top. So I'm not sure if I would write it up as a pattern, because I'm not sure how that would scale for other people. So I could do like a one size, like if you're the same size as me, then you can knit it like this. But yeah, I did write it up so that if I want to make more, because I do think I want to make more, I could do that in the future. So yes, I did make up the pattern. So this is actually more of like an Aran weight yarn. It's a bit heavier. So I used 5.5mm needles. I also wanted it to be like quite a soft fabric, because it's supposed to be sort of a summer top. I didn't want it to be like too dense. And we've been having like a mini little heat wave here recently. This week is not actually as hot as last week, which I'm actually very thankful for. It was way too hot for me. You were enjoying it.
Yeah, I was.
But one of the reasons I left South Africa is because it was too hot. So when it started getting to like 28 degrees here, I was like, it's too hot for me. So yeah, so I really enjoyed knitting it, and it knit up really quickly. I can't remember when I cast it on.
No.
I think it was like Sunday. Saturday or Sunday, I cast it on.
Yeah.
So it's taken me like 3 or 4 days to knit.
It was quick.
It was very quick, but I mean, it's big yarn with big needles, and there's no sleeves or anything, so it did work up really quickly. And then something else I did is I actually went down a whole needle size. So I went from a 5.5mm needle for the body of the work, and then for the straps I went down to a 4.5mm needle, just to make them more dense. And then I actually knit them as a tube, so that it's the same, it's stockinette on both sides. And my husband had a suggestion, which I think is a great idea. So I haven't sewn up the ends of the tube, so it's actually still open, which means that, because knitting can get a bit stretchy over time, and so if I find that the straps are getting too stretchy and it's kind of sagging and exposing more than I want it to, then what I can do is I can just put in like some ribbon or something that's not stretchy into the inside and feed it through that tube. So it was not planned, but a really good idea. And yeah, it was a good idea of my husband's to suggest that. So I think that's like everything.
So I want to know,
yes,
did you talk about the socks that you were making for me with the tube? Because they are finished.
Oh, I haven't. We'll have to make a note. I'll talk about them next time. So I did actually, I knit for the first time ever, I knit a tube sock, which is like an afterthought everything sock. Sorry, I know we're gonna learn. I must not look at the screen, I must look at the camera. Um, but basically I knit an afterthought everything sock. So I just knit a tube, and then I cut it, and then entered in like the heels and toes and stuff. But I'll talk about that next time. I'll get the socks back from my mom, and then I'll talk about that when I've actually got them to show you. But yeah, I think. Oh, I've actually got like so much more than I thought. It has been a while. Like our last proper podcast, it's been at least like 3 months ago. So this is what I've been calling my Autie scarf, because for most of you who know me know that I'm autistic, and I often struggle with really stressful situations, and sometimes I just don't have the brain capacity to actually even think about heels, cuffs, and toes on socks and that sort of thing. So I decided to knit myself a tube scarf. So it's literally just a scarf made the same way that you would knit a sock, except for so it's stockinette on both sides, and then yeah, it's basically just a tube. And so I needed to knit to help soothe myself, but I didn't want to think about anything. So I wanted to knit in the round so I could just do knit stitches. I didn't have to do purl stitches. It's literally the easiest thing ever. The only complicated bits is I did a figure of 8 cast on. So, oops, try not to get the scarf in the T. Oops. Behind you. So there's actually no like visible cast on because I've done a figure of 8 cast on, so it's just like a.
Oh wow! And the other end?
I did a Kitchener. So the same way that you do your socks, and you Kitchener the two ends together. It's just like sort of invisible. So I haven't woven in this end because I wanted to show that the way that I've knit it, this is literally the only end you have to weave in.
Wow. Yeah.
Because your starting one is still inside here. And then when I changed colors, I just knit some of the two ends together as I was knitting so that they kind of locked into place and they're all inside. And so it's literally just this end one. So it's quite a long scarf. Some people did say to me, like, oh, why are you making such a long scarf? But it was mainly just because I wanted to still keep knitting.
Oh, I like the two-tone like that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I'm quite happy with that. Obviously, it's been way too warm to wear since I finished it, but I'm going to weave this end in now. But yeah, that's basically was just my Autie scarf. I might write up a pattern for it if there's any interest, but it's pretty simple. If you know how to knit in the round, it's just a tube. And then my final finished object is actually this bunch of flowers, which you were with me when I made these. So I was just inspired to make some little flowers, crochet flowers. I did find, so I've added, there's wire that goes up the kind of stem of the leaves, and then the base is also wire. So you can position them, which is quite nice, but I did find that it really hurt my hands. Not the initial working with it, like the first few were totally fine. And then after a while I started noticing, oh, my hand's feeling a bit sore, and the next morning I woke up and my whole hand was cramping. Interestingly enough, it was actually, well, I suppose it makes sense. It was my left hand. So I crochet right-handed, but my left hand obviously had to hold onto the wire that I was crocheting over.
Yeah.
And that really like made my hand hurt so much. So I'm not sure that I will do too many more of those, even though they look lovely, just because I don't like doing things that hurt my hands. Oh, and those were just, I don't really know which yarns I used for those. They were just scraps. Oh, I suppose I should say for these. So this grey colour is the Heritage, Cascade Heritage yarns. It's just a merino grey colour. And this one, I can't remember. I think it's called Sunset something or the other. I'll have to insert the name. I'm like being, obviously you can tell it's been a while since we've done podcasting. I'm a bit rusty. It's by Noodle Soup Yarns, I think. And I think it's called the Sunset something.
Sounds familiar because I think I've seen it.
Yeah, the ball band's been.
I've also looked online.
Oh yes, yeah. But yeah, this one is definitely the Cascade Heritage yarn. Yeah, so that's it for finished objects. Would you like to start us off on your works in progress?
Okay. So I'm knitting. Yeah. Where do I start? I bought yarn in South Africa. It's cotton bamboo mix, and I was going to make myself a little T-shirt. And after coming here, I guess I I don't know. I changed my mind anyway. That's what I do. I change my mind a lot. I mean, I'll tell Diela that I'm knitting a tank top, and then 2 days later she comes along, and I'm going, no, no, it's a cardigan. So that's what's happened. I changed my mind after thinking it was going to be a tank top. And the other thing is that I got the grey, which is Echo Fusions. That's the one from South Africa. I don't know how that. Do you want one with a proper label?
Oops, no, it's all right. We can.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I got that.
And this is in the color Mist.
Yeah.
It's whoops. Let's. There we go. It's got quite a nice, like, almost shine to it.
Yeah, it's got a
pearlescent.
yeah. And I really liked it, but when it knitted up just plain, I found it just a little drab or boring. Maybe for me, I don't know. And then when we went to Border Scraps again, I said, she lifted up this wool, and she said, "Don't you think that's nice for your jersey or your cardigan or whatever it was?" And I was like, "Oh, yes, I have to have that." So I mixed the two, and with making stripes. Let me see if I can do this. There we are. And I'm doing the same thing as I did with my tank top. I've designed it so that it's got the holes well, not halfway, but so it will land up just under my bust. And then I'm going to put a tie through that so that it can cinch in there. So it's just a straight, it doesn't have any shaping. And then what do you call that? It's
you're doing a drop shoulder.
A drop shoulder, yeah. I'm going to do a drop shoulder. That's the back. And yeah, I'm busy knitting the front. So that's about all.
Yeah.
I think
You said you're playing a bit of yarn chicken. You're worried you're going to
Oh
run
yeah,
out.
I am, because I used 2 balls. Well, I'm not sure. Maybe it was 1.5 for the back. And I think that I've only got 3 balls left. I'm thinking I'm going to be, that's why I might run out. So that's why over here, along this ridge where I've knitted the holes, I've actually added in another color. And so then the sleeves will have more of that color in, and I might just use the white on the cuffs.
Yes,
or something
that's
like
a good
that.
idea. That's a good idea.
So yeah, that's kind of how I make things work.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Jack's breaking into.
Should I mention the other thing now, or do you want to say something?
No, you go for it.
Ellie crocheted me a little bralette. For anyone who follows my blog, you'll know I had breast cancer and I had a double mastectomy. So having the right shape for me is important. And so she made that for me before I left South Africa. But actually it needs a bit more on the side. So I'm going to try and add a little bit more. So I don't know, that's whether you would call that a work in progress.
Oh,
or...
yes, I think so. I think it's a work in progress. So this was actually knit with crocheted with a, I think it's called a mercerized cotton. So it was a cotton that I got in South Africa, and so we made it in South Africa. And fortuitously, I actually had a little bit left over that I brought with me. So that's from Elle. If you're from South Africa, then you'll know the Elle range. I don't remember the color at all. It's been like 5 years. But yeah, so thankfully we had a little bit left over, and hopefully it's enough. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's it.
Great. I have a few works in progress. I try to keep them down to a minimum, but I've got a few going on. So I'll start off with, it's actually the second pair of socks for my sister-in-law. So just a reminder, she chose this yarn, or she actually purchased it when we were in South Africa. And so I still have, whoops, this left over. Maybe I'm holding it. There we go.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I'm just doing, she asked for this, so we're doing an inverse. So let me grab one of the original. Yeah. So the first pair has the green for the contrast, and then the blue as the main color, and then the second pair is going to have blue as the contrast and green as the
That's
main
nice.
color.
I like that.
So, and she said that it reminds her, because we were in Cape Town at the time, it reminds her of Cape Town because you got the blue for the ocean and the green for the seaweed.
Yes.
So yeah, that is the second pair. And again, I'm going to be doing a 2x2 rib for the cuff and a 3x1 rib for the leg. And they're on 2.5mm needles. And again, they're 64 stitches because she's kind of in the middle of the sizes. So I'd cast those on and had knit a little bit of them when I was on the airplane. But they're actually waiting now because I have like a book where I write down different things that people have asked me to knit for them or crochet for them. And so I put them in order so I can remember who asked for what when, so I can kind of do them, because I'll get inspired. I'll see something that I want to make for someone, or I'll someone will ask me for something, and then I'll be so inspired I want to start it right away, and then I feel bad because someone else asked me for something like 3 months ago. So I have a book, but I've also started putting in projects for myself because I keep knitting things for other people, and like my husband now has like 2 jumpers I've knit him, and they're really nice, and I'm like, why don't I have any jumpers I've knit for myself? So yeah, I've had to put some in to try and force myself to focus on making something for myself. So this is actually the next project that I'm busy working on. And I don't know why it's such a struggle for me to knit for myself, but anyway, I'm on the sleeve, so I'm almost done.
That looks so nice. That
Thank
I know,
you.
I can just see the jersey.
So I'm using a combination of a purple and a gray. I've finished the body. The body's actually, well, okay, no, I haven't finished the body. I've shown the original jersey a couple of times, so I'm not going to show it now, but basically I've finished the majority of the body. And so it's just, I don't know what this stitch is called. It's like you knit.
It's not moss.
No. Well, not the way I know moss. It's like a version of moss.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I've done the body, and this was also like I followed an Ann Budd pattern from my book, but I also then had to figure out the shaping for the top, because the pattern, the jumper that I have, which I can't get a pattern for, it's a vintage pattern that we know the pattern, but I can't find a copy of it. I would purchase it if I could, but I couldn't find it. So I'm just making this based on my grandmother's jumper that she made. And basically it's a top with insets, it's a jumper with inset sleeves, and it's seamed, but the neck is knit in the round. And so basically I figured out like the decreases so that I can then pick up and knit the neck. So I want to attach the sleeves before I knit the neck. I'm not sure why, but I do. I had thought I might try and block it before, but I don't think it really needs blocking.
Yeah.
Before seaming, I'll obviously wash it and block it afterwards, but I don't think it's going to need before, because all the pieces fit and are correct. So yes, basically I finished the front and the back, and I've got some of the neck pieces are live stitches, so they're on like stitch saving things. Very professional. They're on my cables that have stoppers on them, so I have a cable needle set with interchangeable needles, and they have an option, instead of putting a needle on the end, you can put a stopper on the end. So I've done that to keep those live, and then I'll just pick up along the decreases for the rest of them. But I want to finish the sleeves first, so I've started my first sleeve. So the sleeve, the cuff is done in a separate color, which is, I should get to that. So this is Drops Merino Extra Fine, which is actually the same yarn as I knit my sister-in-law's jumper out of. It's just a different color. So this one is color 08. Doesn't really say much, but it's basically this lovely gray color. Oops. Okay. And then I have the ball band came off this one, so it's looking a bit smooshed. But the purple is color 36, which is like a lovely kind of like soft pinky purple color. Oops. So yeah, so the cuff is going to be in the gray, and then the stripes in the neck. So the neck is in a rib with like stripes of, the original was like a pink and a taupe sort of color, and so this one's going to be the gray and the purple going in stripes. So
I can't wait to see it.
I'm quite excited as well. I really enjoy wearing the original pink and taupe one, but it's developed some weak spots, which I have been fixing, but it's a really old jumper, and so I felt like it was time to knit a new one and kind of give that one a rest. But like I said, I keep seeing other projects and wanting to work on them instead of this one. I don't know why when I knit, I always put other people in front of myself and I don't end up knitting for myself. So I need to finish this because it's not going to take that long to finish. So hopefully, fingers crossed, by the time we talk again, it will be finished. And although we're having sort of a late summer with a bit of a heat wave at the moment, we should be heading into autumn.
Yeah, we should.
We should be.
It's actually colder. I saw the temperatures drop down to 8 degrees in the morning.
Oh, I was going to say, not right now.
No.
We don't have the heating on, so I would not be in the tub if
in the morning.
Yes, yeah. And then I think my final work in progress is this scarf for my husband. So I actually just released the pattern for this.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
The colors, yes, the colors are amazing. This is the mesh scarf that I've released a pattern for because I've already knit crocheted. This is a crochet pattern, already made one for my husband. So this is the second one. And this one is being made out of the Malabrigo yarn that we purchased in. This is the Malabrigo that we purchased in South Africa. As you can see, my ball's starting to fall apart a bit. But I don't know if this is going to show, if it's going to focus on my face. Oh no. It's really lovely. It's got purples and blues and a little bit of green in there, a little bit of black. It's really nice. My husband chose that. I'm like so tempted to steal it. But yeah, so I'm very happy with how that's coming up. So I need to finish that as well. So I've got 2 knitting projects and 1 crochet project going on, which I think is okay. It's acceptable. Although, should we go into knitting plans now? I have a shawl which I'm going to be knitting for my mom.
Oh yes.
So as my mom said, my mom and I are quite frequent customers at the Borders scrap store. I absolutely love it there. I think there's a couple of them around Scotland. I don't know if they're also in England or anything like that. Obviously the Borders one is not because it's here. But basically it's like this big room kind of place, or it's not quite a warehouse, it's a bit smaller than that, but basically they take donations from people, and sometimes factories nearby will give them overruns and that sort of thing as well. So there's always something different to discover when you go there, and so we sometimes go like every second week. I need to be well behaved and not go. Although sometimes I go and don't buy anything. So I am sometimes.
Yeah. I tried that yesterday.
But the last, not the last and the second last time we went, I found my mom had just said in one of our videos that she really likes boucle and the way that it looks. And I said that I really don't like boucle, but that's all I said. I didn't clarify it. I just said I don't like boucle. So then when we were in the store, I saw this bag of boucle and I was like, oh, that's gorgeous. And I was like, that looks amazing. And then my mom said to me, well, why don't you like boucle? Is it knitting with it or is it how it looks? So I said, well, it's actually the texture. I don't like the way it feels at the end. I'm not a huge fan of how it looks, but it's not knitting. I don't mind knitting with it. So she enabled me and said, well, I could knit something for her. So we picked out, it's quite autumnal colors. It's got like a bit of purple. It's got lots of oranges and yellows and reds and that sort of a bit of rusty brown in there. And so I got inspired, and I'm going to do a shawl, and I'm going to kind of mix this very colorful, textureful boucle with other stripes of very solid colors and very smooth yarns. To kind of, I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah.
That's one of the projects I really want to start right now. And I'm having to remind myself, just finish your jumper first. Just finish the jumper.
I can wait.
So do you have any future knitting plans?
Yeah, so I have some mohair and some other very plain kind of, I think it's double knit wool, and you can do double strand. So that's I've been playing around with. It's the color. The double knit is kind of like a maroonish color, a wine color, no, more maroon, and the mohair is blue, but I don't know how to explain the blue, but when I mix them, they come up like a really nice color that I like.
Yeah.
And then I found extra wool at Border Scraps again, and so I've got the third color that I'm going to mix through, also double stranding, is going to be for cuffs and for up the front. It's going to be a cardigan. I like cardigans. So that's I knitted the little swatch and everything, and I keep seeing it there, and I'm like, I want to start that, but I just want to focus on one project at a time.
Yes.
So that's one, and then I'm trying to come up with some sort of crocheted
like a window, not quite a curtain, but like a window cover.
Yeah.
I call them privacy curtains, but I'm pretty sure I just made that up.
Yeah, that explains what it is. So our new kitchen faces directly onto our neighbor's front door, and I really like my neighbor, and I would love to wave at her, but it's also like I feel a little awkward every time.
Like you're spying on her.
Yes.
Who's coming to visit?
Yeah, and that's right. So I thought if there was just something there, and so I've been playing around in my mind with colors, and I have some really brightly colored stuff that I'm making. Did you call it fillet?
Fillet crochet.
Fillet crochet.
I don't know if it's fillet or fillet. It's Fillet, and I'm not sure. Obviously, if it was French, it would be fillet.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. That sounds like a food.
It does. It does. So yeah, that's still maybe I won't even have anything to show you next time. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So the colors that my mom's working with at the moment, she has 3 different options. They're all West Yorkshire Spinners sock yarns. So the first one is one of the Zara collection ones, and then there's the Wildflower, which is like almost like a rainbowy color, and then but it's like slightly not a rainbow, and then the colors also kind of, the stripes kind of bleed into each other. And then the last one is the Rum Paradise colorway, which is actual stripes, and definitely like rainbow. I mean, that's the one, the Rum Paradise is the one you've been doing swatches out of.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I've got to really let it percolate before something is going to come up.
Yes, so. Yeah. And then in terms of, I suppose it's not really, it is future knitting. So I have, these are another 2 lots of yarn that my sister-in-law got, and so this first one, I've actually got the full band. So this first one is Opus, and it is for a beanie. So it is Falkland Merino Baby Alpaca. Oops, there we go. Good, so that's the label.
Yeah,
Okay. So it's this lovely dark, like foresty green, and it's a double knit, and she asked me to knit her a beanie out of it. So that's gonna be a lovely beanie, and that'll be a quick knit. Beanies take me like sometimes a day. Depends on how much I'm knitting in that day. But if I'm knitting the whole day, it'll take me like a day. And then the second one is for. This is not for Sarah, my sister-in-law.
very nice color.
Oh. So the second one I have here also. Oops. Okay. So the second one I have here is a sock yarn, which I'm actually going to knit Christmas socks for my dad, which is fine. He doesn't watch the podcast. So this is going to be a Christmas present for my dad. And this is called Rivendell. Is that right? Am I reading that right? I think it's Rivendell.
Yeah.
And so this is a Winwick sock by Lily Rose. And I'm very excited to knit this for him as well.
Interesting. Ends with Dell.
Oh yes, so my father's name is Derek. And so if you've ever watched Fools and Horses, it's like a British sort of comedy show, I think. I've only watched like a couple of episodes, but basically one of the characters' name is Derek and everyone calls him Dell. So my dad's been laughing at that a lot because he's just moved to the UK. So but yeah, so I'm excited to knit some socks for my father out of these as well. But that is going to be a Christmas present, so I've got a bit of time before I cast that one on. So I think that's everything. Do we have anything else to talk about? So I don't really know what section this would go under, but I have actually been making good use of this little mini heat wave we've had, and I actually washed a whole lot of fleece. Well, a whole lot of fiber. It wasn't even a whole fleece. It's very slow going. I mean, I enjoy working with fleece. I wouldn't say I enjoy washing it, but so basically in 2020 during the pandemic, I purchased 4 bags of fleece. One was definitely a Shetland and it was much smaller, and then I think there was a Corriedale. There is a Swartbless, and I'm not sure what the other one was. The other one was like a mix as well. And so 3 of them are quite large fleeces. Like there's a normal size sheep. Shetlands are small, and these are like normal size sheep. So I ran out of time to process them all at the time because you need fairly good weather. It just can't be raining. It can be overcast, but it can't be raining. And so I just skirted all of them, which is where you pick out all the really dirty, mucky bits. So I skirted them so that they wouldn't like rot or something, and then I packed them away in black bags and put them in the shed. And so I've slowly over the years been processing them, but I still have like another 2 fleece left. I've done the whole of the Shetland, which I did like all in one go. It was, as I said, smaller. But the latest one I've been doing, it's taken me quite a long time, but I finally, as of like last weekend, I managed to have it all finished. And so I've washed it all, and I got a drum card as a birthday present, and so I have actually managed to card the majority of it. There's just a little bit left that I still need to card. So that will be up in my spinning. So if you don't know, I can explain a little bit more. With sheep fleece, first of all, some people don't know this. I think most knitting people know this, but I don't know. Sheep fleece does not have skin on it. The animal is still alive. It's like a haircut. I've had some people ask me about that, but no, the animal is still alive. And basically, but I mean, sheep are animals that live outside, so it's quite dirty. It's got like bits of grass and mud and all sorts of things in it. And then it also has lanolin. Most of it has lanolin, which is like a wax is probably the best way to describe it because it's solid at room temperature. And so before you spin it, you really want to wash it and scour it. So I do an overnight soak, which is like the most of the washing part. So the overnight soak is just in cold water, and I just leave it in there, and that really lets a lot of the sand and the debris all come out. But after that, you need to scour it, which is to get rid of as much of the lanolin as you can, because otherwise it's very greasy and sticky when you spin it, and I actually find it hurts my hands a bit because you got to really pull it apart. And so the scouring, you need to use hot water and a little bit, I use dish soap. You can use anything that cuts the grease, but it needs to be hot so that the wax will actually melt, and then you need to pour it off while it's still hot so that the wax goes away, because if you let it cool, then the wax will just go back onto the fleece. And so ideally you want to scour it twice. Let's wash it with hot water and soap twice. And then you want to rinse it 2 or 3 times after that to get as much of the kind of soap out of it. However, as most of you know, if you put your wool into something that's hot and wet and then you move it around, it's going to felt. So you need to do this whole process with as little agitation of the fibers as possible. So it's quite a process. It takes quite a while and it's quite involved, and there's lots of filling up the water and tipping it out and filling it up again. And you don't want to do this, let's say, in your bathtub and pour it down the drain, because that wax is going to recongeal and it can block your drains. So you really want to do it outside, which is why I need to wait till it's not raining. Like I said, it doesn't have to actually be a hot sunny day, although that does help. You just need it to not be raining. So it's taken quite a while, but I still have another 2 fleece to go. I've calculated that if I keep going at the same rate, it's going to take me like 10 years to finish everything I've got. But yeah, so that'll be part of my spinning soon. I tend to spin more in winter when it's cozy in the lounge and I have the fire going and I can be spinning.
So you're going to show photos of what you were doing?
Yeah, I can insert some
because
pictures.
I found your inner, you've got the tub and you've got that little thing that you keep it in. I found that quite interesting. Like if anyone wanted to learn.
Oh yes, yeah.
The photos.
Yeah, so I'll definitely insert some pictures, but basically I use like these trays that you can get from like most home stores that have it's like a fake plastic basket. And so basically the bottom is solid, which you need because when you pick it up you don't want all of the fleece like escaping through the holes, but the sides have like this like kind of lattice pattern which allows the water to drain out, which is very useful. That was a good idea. I'll definitely insert some pictures. But yeah, is that everything?
Yeah.
Cool. So thank you very much for watching. Please give us a like and a subscribe and share us with any of your friends if you enjoyed it. It really helps get the word out there and help people to find out more about knitting.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll hopefully see you next month.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye bye.